Hello, good morning. And let me start like this. People who are thinking Christmas are already counting down 24 days to go. But let me welcome you one and all to this morning. I am Jones Hussein. Now, not many of us are familiar with the old saying, which is also a curse, may you live in interesting times. We needn't bother about the source or origin of the saying. We sure are living in the times filled with uncertainties and vagueness exhibited by our supposed elected representatives. Many of our governors are the reigning champions of prodigality, if you see what I mean. Just the other day, the news hit us hard on the face that Governor Rochas Anayo Okorocha of Imo not only caused to be created a Ministry of Happiness and Couples Fulfillment, he spent money on the ministry. Before him, though, Ekiti strongman Peter Ayodele Fayose wants to clothe some 10,000 poor children in his state. Now, this morning we are going to look at the prodigality of governors, some governors, not all of them. And we want to start from, in reverse order. I just talked about Imo, and of course, Ekiti State. But let me introduce my guest this morning. The one, Achike Chude, is a good governance agitator and, of course, Secretary General of the Joint Action Front. Achike, I greet you.
Yeah. The Deputy Chairman. Yeah.
Deputy Chairman. Yeah. Oh, so you are up the ladder. Good, good for you. Now, Liberus Oshoma is an attorney at law and also a national affairs commentator. I greet you, Liberus.
My pleasure.
Let me start with you.
I greet you too.
A Ministry of... what's the name now? A Ministry of...
Happiness
and
Couples Fulfillment.
Yes, yeah.
On the face value,
yeah,
really, it's not... it wouldn't have been out of place because in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, they have a similar ministry, created for women's happiness. What you can call maybe a welfare ministry of welfare.
But targeted at the women folk.
Yes, targeted at the women folk, for women's welfare,
yeah,
and couples welfare, generally, family affairs, But because our political climate and the circumstance we find ourselves, and that governor is the man who ordinarily would want to be in the news for the wrong reasons, not for
that's in your estimation.
Yes, my opinion.
Yeah.
Not for altruistic reasons. And then the way the ministry was created, and then you now begin to wonder, really, if it will achieve the same purpose that that one in Abu Dhabi, is achieving. And then the cry, because you wonder what had been the welfare program of that government before now. What have been the family orientation programs of the same government before now, to now believe that truly this ministry created and the commissioner appointed the governor's...
I hear the sister.
Yes,
yeah.
Sister.
Nothing could be wrong with that. No, on face value.
First and foremost, it is not...
The sister is an Imolite.
Yes, but then it is not a family business.
Okay.
It's not a family business. If all things being equal, ordinarily people won't frown at that if she's, she's the most qualified for that job. But if you look at the brand of politics played in that state and all the appointments so far, how the governor had almost turned the state to an extension of his personal estate and family business,
sometimes
then there's a problem there.
I get so worried when you use these phrases and catch words loosely.
No. I chose my words carefully.
Carefully. But go on.
And so, when you hear the governor's wife, I'm trying to tell you that I am not using these words loosely. The governor's wife is in charge of finances and revenue mobilization in the state. The governor's in-law is the chief of staff to the governor in the state. The governor's in-law is the minister representing the state at the federal level. The governors...
Laborers, these posts are appointive.
Yes,
they're
that's what I'm
elected.
saying. They are not elected, they're appointed. And so when you have, all of this, the impression it gives is like, this is almost a personal estate of the government.
Put simply, there's a measure of prodigality here.
Yes, largely.
So the ministry is moving, Achike, if you see what I mean. I'll move you to another state, Ekiti. The governor wants to clothe some 10,000 children.
Well, again, on the surface...
Spending public funds.
Yeah, on the surface, I mean, people would also say, well, what is wrong with it? After all, the politicians are busy stealing money. So if some of these monies, are made available to indigent people in that state, they also benefit from the largesse of the state. I mean, looking at it from that perspective. But the reality is that it is not the duty of the government to buy Christmas clothes for the students, because for the children, what it also means is that every other holiday, because you are also worried about setting a precedence that if you're not able to continue, people will accuse you of bias and discrimination, and this is Nigeria. So why would you want to buy, children clothes, 10,000 of them, for the Christmas season, and then maybe the Eid al-Fitr or the Eid al-Maulud comes along, you must also look for something to buy also for them. And then it continues. It's a vicious cycle, and the day you stop, people accuse you of bias, of hoisting one religion over the other. And so what you're expected to do is to empower the people. You empower the people so that they have the kind of economic ability to be able to do these things for themselves. It is the primary responsibility of parents to provide basic welfare, to clothe their children. And it is the duty and responsibility of government to ensure that there's some level of economic activity, within the state that empowers the people in the process. I mean, it's like the discussion, for instance, on Rochas and the issue, of happiness and welfare. And one would say, oh, fine, the governor is forward-looking and the rest. He cares for the interests of his family and the rest. But again, every man is an economic being, and you need to improve on the economy so that they will be able to do what they have to do to meet up with their family responsibilities. But this is a governor that has, for one reason or the other, denied the people that ability by, not being able to pay salaries,
creating
welfare,
an enabling environment.
So a man without money, without money in his pocket cannot be a happy being, cannot be a happy person. And so when you create a ministry of happiness and deprive that man his economic means of sustainability, you understand, no amount of inducement, no amount of talk will turn him from a sad man
not even a ministry of unhappiness, which will
exactly the causes of unhappiness. So you cannot create happiness in the air. Happiness is dependent on so many other factors.
It's innate, yeah.
There's so many other factors. And like I said, a man is a social being, a man is an economic being. Go to the root of his problems at the economic level and the social level, and you will, help in making him a much better person, a happier person.
Liberals, this is the time to begin to fan out. Let's talk about elephant projects dotting the skyline of this country. Let me take you to Cross River State. It came with much fanfare. Tinapa gobbed $450 million. Today, it's becoming more like a...
You see, it's unfortunate, very unfortunate, that our brand of politics and governance are not people-oriented. By people-oriented, I mean that, it's dependent on what I would call the foots of the governor. Depending on how long his foot is, would determine the extent of the project you would see. But ordinarily, I met a county commissioner from Miami-Dade, and he said what they do, they have a 10-year program. The people, the communities will come together and draw up a strategic plan of where they want to go. How?
Please remind the viewer, a county is a local government?
Local government, yes.
Okay. In America?
Yes, in America. And so They meet and then they draw up a plan of where they want to go in the next 10 years. So they have a 10 years strategic plan. And that's what the county works with. So you can't come as a mayor and feel, oh, I think these people need a road, and so I want to build a road for them. It is what they need. It's already in the plan. And also, in Nigeria, in like manners,
okay.
In Nigeria, we had developmental plans. Before now, you hear of Vision 2020, Vision 2010. We had developmental plan, but it only existed at the federal level. One would have expected also that states should have developmental plans. And so these developmental plans, irrespective of the party, you start from where the previous one stops. But in the absence, because of the absence of those developmental plans and programs, so once a governor comes, if it's a different party, the programs and projects of the previous ones are abandoned. Even in some cases where it is the same party, like Tinapa. But the man that had the vision, it was a personal vision. So it wasn't a state vision.
The stakeholders
it
were
wasn't
not
a
involved,
stakeholders thing. It wasn't a strategic plan by the people. And so, the moment he leaves office, the next governor comes, he also does not know how to, he really does not know what to do with the project. So it's abandoned. And then you find out that the governor that conceptualized that plan, he also did not tie it to private sector participation. So because everything here, government is the biggest spender, government is the funder, government, does everything like Ayo Fayose, sewing Christmas clothes for children. And then the tailors that are going to be employed and the machines bought for, the moment the government stops spending, there will be no jobs for those tailors. So it's the same thing with this kind of project. And so at the end of the day, go to Edo State, the same thing. The central hospital built by Oshomole, the building, massive, is still there. But you have a new governor now, no equipment, not functional, and it's been under lock and key since he was commissioned.
We'll go on this break. When we come back, I'll take you to Akwa Ibom State where you have a
library also.
Specialist. No, Ibom specialist hospital, completed but locked up.
That could not even treat the governor.
Come on, come on. Let's go on this break. We'll be back. Please don't go away. Okay, then, welcome back. Just before the break, Liboros was talking about a certain hospital in
Benin.
His Edo State?
Yes, in Edo State. And so, right from 1 year after commissioning, that hospital is under lock and key. Just the same way.
Why?
The equipments are not there. Because when you see, when these projects are conceived, they are never thought through. You don't think of the manpower, the technical know-how, the equipment that are going to be used. Meanwhile, you don't manufacture them here. And so the people that you're going to bring, have you discussed with them? How is the state going to fund those projects after, the structure? All of these are not thought through. Yeah. And then it is commissioned, it is under lock and key. Just the same way with the one you have in Akwa Ibom, in Uyo, that the day it was commissioned with fanfare, the governor came out to say, look, the first of its kind in West Africa. And the governor became a senator, had a minor accident, and he flew to London. The same hospital that was first of its kind could not treat him. As I speak to you now, the Reina and Cardiac Center in Bagada, Lagos General Hospital, conceptualized by the previous administration, is under lock and key. So, and then one other factor, so that I quickly yield the floor for my colleague Achike. Some people also have, allude to the fact that one factor that is responsible is the fact that when they spend so much money for election, the moment they get into office, they are looking for new projects that will be, initiated to recoup money. And so that's why you find out that some of the properties also, fantastic housing project initiated by the previous government, this new government will come and abandon them and start their own.
Actually, I quickly take you to Osun State. Ogbeni Aregbesola, governor of the state of Osun, is defending frantically his plan to establish an airport. Good on paper, but we're talking about sustainability.
And not just sustainability, viability too.
Desirability.
Yeah, desirability, viability, sustainability, all of these abilities,
yeah.
are critical, are essential, because, most of this infrastructure, when you look at them, because of the huge or the stupendous amount of money used, to set them up, you look at the issue of whether they are going to be commercial successes in terms of the kind of revenue, not just, job generation now, but also in terms of generating revenue for the state government. Because again, if you're talking about development, more or less, you want to look at even rail transportation, which can be accessible to everybody, both rich and poor at the same time. Has a way of boosting, business and commerce. And of course, that the old West, in the United States and some of these other places, the first, level of development was made possible by the development of road, infrastructure in all of those places, in most places. And so that is what you would have expected. What is the volume of traffic from parts of the country to Osun State, for instance? If people from Lagos have to come to Osun State, would they prefer that 30 minutes or 25 minutes flight from here to Osun State, or they would prefer to go by road?
How far is Osogbo from Ibadan?
How far is Osogbo from Ibadan and all of these other commercial cities? Yeah. So these are questions you ask yourself. And then how viable is it from a place like Abuja, for instance, Port Harcourt, to Osun State? So when you look at it in terms of conception, you're asking yourself, have they done their homework properly? But you realize that it's also part of the same profligacy that we're seeing in virtually every part of this country. But again, where I might disagree, maybe from a satirical perspective with liberals, is that there's a development plan, not just at the federal level, by the governors, not by the state. Because you see, the governor is supposed to symbolize the state. But it is not for nothing that Louis XIV made that statement, Je suis l'État et l'État c'est moi. I am the state and the state is me. And so if you look at a state from that perspective, that is your vision of the state, and you have a concept in your mind about what you intend to do in the state, not for the state, that determines what you do, you understand, as governor, using the authority that has been given to you. So what happens is that you now come in and you're not asking yourself, where do I take this state? Where do I see this state in the next 4 years after my first tenure and then the second tenure? How do I want to leave the state in terms of revenue generation, in terms of employment for the citizens of the state, and so many other things that those in government do normally to leave a good record for themselves. But there is a development plan. It is personalized. And the question that is asked, rather than about the state, is about the person of the governor, for instance. How much, if I have spent 4 years in government, how much do I want to have in my bank account? How much what kind of property, how many properties do I need to have all over the world, not just in Nigeria and in my state and the rest? And that's why you see, ultimately, at the end of the day, by the time they leave power, there are serious allegations of a governor, for instance, an ex-governor having about 50 houses or 100 houses here and there, having billions of naira in his account. He has worked well to fulfill his developmental plan. You understand? So that is what goes on. But you see, this is not something that has happened, that is just happening now. It's just that it has gotten worse. It has been exacerbated over the years.
Okay.
This is decades old. If you look at, for instance, the Operation Feed the Nation, how many billions went into it? You look at the Green Revolution, how many billions went into it? The Ajaokuta, how many billions went into it? The various dams that you have across the country. There's one at Ikere Gorge Dam.
There's Ojirami Dam.
There's one in some in parts of the north and the east and so on. Some of them were meant to be irrigation dams and all of that, but they're also meant to generate some level of electricity and all of that. But if you go to those places, I happen to have gone to Ikere Gorge Dam some time ago, and man, if you see what I saw there, so much money, and you can't help but feel bitter about what is going on in this country.
And sometimes I want to echo what former head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida, said. He was wondering, given the pummeling the economy of this country took, the country didn't go down under, which is saying this country has more than 10 lives, if you see what I mean.
No. That's the mistake we make.
Okay.
Oh, given what had happened so far, we're still shocked that it didn't go down. It's like when you drill oil from the ground, it is not the day you drill that oil that the ground caves in. You continue to drill and remove. And so you weaken the underlay of that, the soil.
Yeah.
And someday, if nothing is there to take that place of that which you have removed, it gets to a point...
The vacuum will be filled.
Exactly. And so it caves in. And that's gradually what is happening, what has been happening to Nigeria. Unfortunately, before now, you have oil boom, you know, in and out, and so there's more to be stolen at every point. The first set will come and go, and then they take what they can take, and then the next batch that comes, then you have oil to sell. And then they also, rather than plow it back to the economy, they take, most of these funds are ferried abroad. Some are invested in properties. Some are tied to some unfinished project that we're talking about. And gradually, we're gradually getting to that level where, if you remember, just a few years ago, the price of oil dropped. And we saw the effects in the economy, the society, everywhere, including the politicians. And so now we mount diversification. Oh, let's diversify into agriculture. And you know also the gestation period for that is not the same with that of oil, where you just give a man a piece of paper and he's smiling to the bank. Yeah. And so with all of this, with the way things are going, gradually...
And if you don't mind, please, I wanted to just emphasize a bit of what he said. There are consequences for these things he's describing. And we are seeing the manifestation of these consequences in the joblessness in the country, in the growth also of churches. Because, you see, what the government fails to do, the churches are trying to do or pretending to do and telling people they will do. A government is supposed to provide the basis or the foundation, you understand, or the environment for which, you know, jobs are created. But when jobs are not created, for instance, you now have all kinds of spiritual people and so on, making promises over something that the government normally, under normal circumstances, would have been, been able to do. And you see that, yes.
Sorry, you have just pricked me now. My government, my state governor, Akwa Ibom now, is to build a 10,000 capacity worship center in Uyo. The foundation laying ceremony is built for January 21 next year.
And Citizen Jones to
but the question,
yes,
is that what we need now?
That's where
it's a little debatable.
That's to take it back to that same statement. You see the increase in crime rates. That even in some states where kidnapping, the penalty for kidnapping is death sentence, you still have kidnappers, you know, daredevil kidnappers. It's a lucrative business now. And you see the way crime rate is growing in Nigeria. These are fallouts of this, oh, you take so much and yet we're still together. And then you see militancy, you see Boko Haram. These are fallouts of joblessness. And then this religion and religiosity, where you're promised, because of failure of government and governance, where in places where, let me give you an instance. If you're traveling from California to Atlanta, in America, they tell you, have fun. They call it road trip. You know, you're going to see the countryside. But here, if you're traveling from Lagos to Benin, the first question will be, have you prayed? You need to commit this journey into the hands of God. Because over there, the government would have provided the basic necessities to ensure that you arrive safely, including speed limits and, you know, everything that you need. But here, because of failure of governance, these churches now pretend to provide those things. All you need to do is that money that you were supposed to give to government as tax that will be stolen, give it to God in form of tithe. And God will give you that safe journey, good jobs, husbands, and whatever. And gradually also, there is a new revolution that is coming on. Now, gradually, so most of these promises, because the state had failed, the religious organizations, you know, acted as a stopgap. But gradually, people are beginning to realize that it's the same way, the same behavior from the politicians. And so if we get to that point, if care is not taken, we might just
Achike, and you are told the church and the state are two different entities. The Constitution at least says so.
Yeah, and to some extent, yes. I mean, that can be achieved, but it depends again on who are those running, the state. There's no doubt that those who are in government are also people of faith. Whether they adhere to the principles of their faith is a different ballgame, because, of course, your guess is as good as mine as far as I'm concerned. Those who claim to be Christians and are not living by the creed set aside by the tenets of the faith and so on, cannot be Christians. And that was why Christ said it is by their fruits that you should know, that you know them. It is not by what they say. It is not by what they tell people. It is by what they do, what they exude, what they manifest, that tells you whether this person actually has imbibed certain virtues that we know are universally, I mean, as far as Christianity is concerned, okay. So this is what, we see every day. But you asked Laborers a question. You said, do we need this?
At this time.
At this time. And the question is yes and no. Yes, we might not need it as a people, but they need it. The politicians need it, because they need to hold the people down. And there are no two ways about it. There are certain virtues about religion. They have done a lot of good all over the years, but at the same time, they are being manipulated, for the purpose of holding the people down, so that the politicians will continue to ride roughshod over the people.
Okay, then. We'll take this break and return, but stay with us. We're looking at governors and their tendency to be prodigal. We'll be back. All right, then, let's keep it going. Achike and Liberos, let me share a quote from my governor at a session when he addressed men of God, preparing them for the January 21st date. He said, let me quote him, "Your priesthood is not complete until it backs a king," end of quote.
Who is the king?
Okay.
The governor.
Who is the king? The king is the governor. So, and he said it all. I mean, that's a smart statement. He's told them that they have no other duty, no other responsibility. It's like
no, he was talking to the men of God.
No. But of course, yes. I mean, it's almost like we're in the era of the divine rights of kings. I mean, in Europe in those days, where the kings could do no wrong, because the kings took authority from the divine order from God, and so whatever the king says, it had to be followed strictly. So if he is the king in this case, and that the king, the primary responsibility of the priesthood is to back the king. It does not qualify the backing and in what circumstance the king should be backed. The king can do no wrong, because he now has a priesthood that is representative of the Almighty, who is backing him in prayers and so many things and so on. So you cannot have the followers of the priesthood or the flock
who believes in the priesthood,
who
not backing the king
believe
also
in their shepherd, and you have a shepherd that backs the king, and then the flock will not back the shepherds that back the king. And so clearly, you now have a seamless relationship between the state in this manner and the church, where the state provides a worship center with the money of the state and so on, for the people, and then the priests have to also supervise over that. So what does that tell you? And it's a worrisome development.
I was going to take us to Jos, but we'll go there. Nonetheless, Olayinka is calling from there. Good morning, Olayinka.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm greeting your two gentlemen.
Yeah, Olayinka, good morning.
Good morning, Olayinka.
Please, I don't want to contribute to the issue of equity. It is the grace and the slap to people of equity, but a single man is now to sew a clothes for their children. In the issue of Nigeria, the 1960, I've never happened that people are working 8 to 5 every day, cannot buy clothes for their children because of the failure of government to pay their salary. Yeah. And the government now believes what they can do to people is to go and sew clothes of Ankara when to their children at the rate of that only God knows. These are self-starting something. The governor is not that he likes people of Ekiti. It's what he's going to gain from that way of those flows that is after him. And the only solution to follow Ekiti is that may God help us to have a labor union who will fight for people who have perished Ekiti people because of the collaboration between government and the labor there.
All right then. Olenka, many thanks. It provokes a saying in my language. Let me say it, I'll translate. Obong isibong nikbong. The king does not reign alone. Yeah. Meaning, does a governor like Fayose, that's talking about sowing of this, does he not discuss with people? Gentlemen, I want to do this. Does he not listen to them?
You know, I told you.
Is it not an inclusive thing?
I told you, and then Achike disagreed cynically with me, that the developmental plan is what the king thinks should be. And so that's why you find out that the governor will have a think tank, an economic team. At the end of the day, like Obasanjo said, your duty is to advise, mine is to take or leave. And so, but at the end of the day, I do what I think it's. And so you see, when he wants to do this populist, projects, it's immaterial what people think. And that's why, rather than you hearing the press advisor or chief press secretary to the governor, you hear the governor more. So what is happening here is, it's immaterial whether because of your failure to provide the enabling environment for people, for farming to thrive, for civil servants to be able to put food on their table. It's okay, don't worry. I would rather give you that, rice and chicken on the day of Christmas.
After all, before now, we had the Ministry of State Infrastructure. Stomach infrastructure. George is here. After George would have spoken with us, we'll go to Jos. George, welcome.
Good morning, President Jones.
I greet you.
President Jones, I asked for that list from Imo State yesterday night, and I discovered that the name of that woman is not on that list. And that ministry is not one of those that was created, except I was not getting an authentic list.
All right.
But be that as it may, the prodigality of governors in Nigeria is simply because of the people's docility. People are docile, they don't seem to care about what their governors do. We know that in the National Assembly, for example, lawmakers who are already rich people, they have wardrobe allowances. No civil society lawyer, no labor unionist ever cried out to say, no, we cannot take this. So these people go on and do what they like. Ms. Richards, for example, had a budget for erecting senators of people here and there. Who approved the budget? And what did the people of the state then say?
Yeah, Judge.
This is the question. So we need to accept responsibility as a people before we start blaming.
Agreed. Can I quickly chip in something to add to
I want to go to Jos.
Yes, I know. But you find out that it is always very easy for us to shift blame. Oh, the civil society didn't do this. But we also forget that we are civil societies. How much of this awareness adopt your local environment have you created? How many people have you said, okay, I want to contribute. If I can't, I'm not a lawyer, I can't go to court, but let's employ one to go to court on our behalf. You don't have to wait for somebody to do it for you. And that's why sometimes we also come on these platforms like this to try to educate. And lastly, the ministry was actually created.
The judge should go back to the records. Achike, quickly, Judge just dropped something. The people are docile. In this case, we're looking at state assemblies would approve before a governor can do any such thing. Right? Wrong?
No, not right. But the people, and it's not just the ordinary people, because I'm sure when George was talking, he was also talking about the ordinary Nigerians and so on. The state houses of assembly all over. You see, it's not about, it's like somebody told a friend of mine, a commissioner in one of the states in the southeast, because he was wearing a shoe containing with the picture of the governor on the shoe. And he said, look, but boy, what is going on? Is this not the height of... No. I mean, real life. He was talking with the person. He was a serving commissioner then, and he saw the shoe of the picture of the governor on the commissioner's shoes. And he said, "Boy, are you not taking this thing to a ridiculous level?" He didn't know what he told him. He said, "No, that in this state, people don't want to know. People don't want to know that you're loyal. They want to see that you're loyal."
You're loyal. Abubakar is in Kano. Welcome.
Yeah, good morning.
I greet you.
How are you doing?
We are all okay.
My contributions to this discussion is that one, you see these governors, our governors, they sought this allocation for the state to the people. And if you go through the public policy, it is people, it is the environment that determines what they want, not the governors determining what they themselves as individuals want.
Should want.
And that's why they are taking advantage of our awareness and ignorance. You see, every state has to tender its own budget to the people for their input. And once people identify any project that is not beneficial to the masses, it should be thrown out. And the assembly people are there to represent people. Yeah. Unfortunately, they are being pocketed by these governors. And they determine what they want it, and where they want it, which is not proper. The public policy is you are there to serve the people. Any public policy which is not people-oriented should be thrown out.
Yeah. Thank you, Abubakar.
You see, let me just say, maybe reference to what
Justice is begging.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. We'll come back to it. The Jasmine market was conceived by former governor of the state, 2 governors back. It is there till today. The current governor does not want to touch it. So it becomes a white elephant. That's what we are saying. And quickly take you to Niger State. The governor before now wanted another airport in Niger. Wanted, but the current governor, money had been paid, feasibility studies, blah, 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 blah. The current governor does not want to touch it. That's another potential white elephant.
It's already a white elephant.
Okay.
You see, it's the same, it boils down to the same logic, like Aliyu just also mentioned.
Abubakar,
yeah. You find out that this project, you have, if you've ever driven from Zuba to Suleja, that road is horrible. It took the federal government, when they were contemplating whether to, when they were renovating the runway in Abuja, whether to move passengers to Mina or to Kaduna. Yeah. But because of the bad state of that road, so they had to move passengers to Kaduna.
Yeah.
And so now the former governor, probably, if you go find out now where the airport is to be sited, maybe it's one politician, is from that area, and so they saw that as development
and
for compensation.
Way, let's be fair to them. Niger State has the largest land mass in the country as a state here.
Yes, I agree. But is Niger State the largest agrarian state in the country?
Not necessarily.
So at the end of the day, the impression that the people get is that there's so much money from government, and so they sit back. You're waiting for these projects to come, and then if you don't get a second term, or you are not able to impose your stooge on the people, some of these projects will die a natural death.
Yeah. All right. Mazi Okorafor is reaching us from Arochukwu. Welcome, Mazi.
Good morning, Mr. Jones, and good morning, our guest in the studio. That's Comrade Mazi.
Good morning.
Here in Niger State. You see, Mr. Jones, our guest, what we see in Nigeria today, the so-called the progression of our governors, they embark on such programs to do what? To siphon state money for their generations yet on board at the detriment of the masses. And Nigeria 60%. All the states, the same story, no room for continuity, and the masses are dying. Like one of our contributors rightly said, there is no state you see that doesn't have all these problems. Now, it is the high time Nigerians sit up. The human rights activists say to challenge these governors. These governors are human beings. But Nigeria has come down to sit down and be worshiping them. Because Nigeria will worship the governor more than the God himself than the creator. That is why you see them, all these do to them. At the end of the day, see them facing assassins and kidnappers to go and pursue people who are selling. That is why, because Nigeria don't want to sit up. We should tell them that what they are doing is wrong. Because if 70% or 50% of Nigeria will tell the government that what they are doing is wrong, they will sit up. But because we close them, now look at yesterday, my people were just laughing. Look at what between Night Man and Oka, what happened there? They were, what do they call it? Road safety was the police. Road safety code police along the line. They were just stopping. They will take all your documents, all the documents are correct, but they will just send the pack, unless you see them. Is that what you're supposed to do? And the government, they see all these things and they close that.
Thank you.
The high time Nigeria tell the government that what they are doing is wrong. But some of these projects, you see, they are not necessary.
Thank
the masses are suffering.
Mazi, thank you very kindly. Gentlemen, still in Mazi's environment, the late Sam Mbakwe started 38 years ago the Imo International Hotel at Aba. Yes. Work started, but governors after him abandoned the project.
You see, Jones, you have to ask yourself why these things are happening. You understand? You see, already we have established the fact that there's a culture of impunity in the country. And it is said somewhere that when a crime goes unpunished, the heart of the people is filled with rebellion.
Yeah.
Good. And so, and again, Kenny Rogers will tell you that once you can tell a little bit of lie, once you can tell a lie, you can tell a little bit more lie. Because once you've gotten away with it, you will get away with it again, consistently. That's where the impunity comes in. So you come in, you know, elected by the people, so-called, and then you do whatever you want, you get away. Somebody comes because the first person did it and got away with it. Subsequent people will do it and get away with it. Nobody is punished. And so I agree with both, and there's a common thread in the, you know, contribution by Mazi and then that of Abubakar and so on. But ultimately you ask yourself, how come our leaders, elected leaders, can do some of these things and believe they can get away with it? We
put a pause on that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hassan, am I right now? He is calling from Hassan Lekki. Welcome, Hassan.
Good morning, Mr. Hussein.
I greet you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Dibros Oshoma and
Achike Chude.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Hassan, good morning.
You see, this issue is about the government derailment to the level of sycophancy and the level of I don't care attitude and impunity by the governors, and the sycophancy on the part of the followership and on the part of people that serve the government. We can see the failure of leadership all over in the country. It's a national problem whereby you see governor doing something that is even against the civil service rules.
Yeah.
You see governor thinking about the next election, not about the next generation. Our country is unfortunate. It has degenerated to that kind of level, where somebody will just wake up in the morning and create a ministry for happiness. Happiness for what? You understand? We had ministry for youth affairs that take care of welfare of the people.
Yeah. We
have everything in place. We have the structures in place. Why ministry for happiness? I can see the derailment of sycophancy in it. I can see the way people personalize government.
Yeah.
Government is the government of the people. And whatsoever you are going to do must be in congenience with people's orientation.
Yeah, thank you, Hassan.
You embark on projects that are people-oriented.
Thank you. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you, Hassan. Gentlemen, after hearing him, you are tempted to conclude that from state to state, we have the government's money can buy.
Yes.
No, you see, and I think the good thing
am I
about,
making sense?
Yes, the good thing about it is that there is a pan-Nigerian, you know, profligacy, you know, and irresponsibility on the part of leadership. And there's
pan-Nigerian?
Yes, and there's also a pan-Nigerian, you know, sentiment of disapproval for what these people are doing across religious divides, across tribal divides, across geopolitical divides, and so on. And if there's one thing that should strengthen the resolve of the people, is that knowledge that what we face is a national issue. Yeah. It is not tribal, it's not ethnic, it's not geopolitical, it is not religious. You understand?
And the issue is a crisis.
It's a crisis, and that the approach should be uniform.
Let me quickly take Yakub from Dokwemo. Yakub, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then good morning to Lebros and Achike.
Good morning, Yakub. Yeah.
Thank you. God bless you, sir. You see, it is really impunity, as everybody rightly said earlier. I want to give a clear example. If I ask a question, what is the image of somebody in South Africa president has to do with economics of Imo State? If you look at the image, does it mean all this image that this very particular governor is building all over is going to add it to the economic and then the benefit of those states, of citizens of that state? And then the same governor still put another commissioner for happiness or whatever, anything they call it. See, you know why they are doing all these things? They know that there has never been a free and fair election in this country. Why am I saying that? If there is a situation whereby there is a mid-term election, that every citizen of this country knew that my vote is going to count. Do you know today, if they conducted mid-term election in this country, a lot of governors will never come back. Are you getting it? Because they are doing this thing and then they are getting away with it because they know that they will find their way back into the government.
That's it. Brings me to this. Thank you, Yakub. Brings me to this. In spite of all these, gentlemen, the governor from state to state, except where otherwise stated, ensures his successor is picked by him.
Yes, because apart from Anambra, where you have a semblance of community nominating projects, I learned what is obtainable there is a situation where every community, at the budget, there's 20 million naira earmark for every community, where the community will have to nominate a project.
Okay, the community comes with a shopping list?
No, the community, well, you must have a project every year. Okay. And so, at the end, if you exhaust your project for that year, you come back, you nominate another project. It is not the government that will nominate a project for you. The community nominates the project. Apart from Anambra, where that is correctly
liberals, sorry, without meaning, I'm not puncturing your balloon, but I'm saying we know that second-term governors had always been...
Yes, that's where I'm now going to. That's why I'm saying that now that the governor has won, you know, a re-election, one would expect...
Be careful, you are talking about Achike's state now.
One would expect that...
You have permission to...
One would expect that he continues and even take it to, you know, another level. And not just, like we had said, what the governor feels. It should be, you know, entrenched and become a practice in the state in the way budgets are drawn up, where the communities would be part of the budget. Yeah. Oh, this is what we want to be. And then, on the issue of, now I'm coming to your question, and then I also want to talk briefly about solution, because we've been talking about the problems. We need to, that's why for me, election is very key. The only time the people participate in government is during election period. That's the only
to the extent of casting a ballot.
Yes,
that's the extent of the participation.
Yes, participation. Yeah. Because that is the only power you have to determine whether this good man or this bad man, presumably. And so for us, it is for us to consistently demand that our electoral processes be transparent enough quickly, and be accountable.
Let me take the only lady this morning. Halima is on the line, and Halima, we say welcome, Ma.
Good morning, Mr. Oseni.
Okay, all right, welcome, sir. Is it a Ma now? Go on, please.
Good morning, Mr. Oseni.
I greet you.
Yes, the kind of impunity that is actually displayed by this governor is something that Nigerians are very, very disappointed with. Agema, calling from Benue State.
Agema?
Yes.
Okay.
And the kind of impunity that is actually displayed by these governors is something else. Let us take Benue State as a case study. Yes, Agema.
Continue.
Go on. Don't listen to your voice. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, quickly, you have 10 seconds.
Let us take Benue State as a case study.
Yeah.
This our governor has not paid workers for 13 months. And this is the governor who has actually donated 24 million naira.
Okay, Agima, you spend more time listening to the hallback of your voice, but 13 months, salaries, and so on.
I want to quickly
you are closing on that.
Yes,
please.
And so there's need for us to insist that the electoral processes be accountable and transparent. Otherwise, because if the elections are transparent and accountable and your ballot truly counts, you'll be able to vote in members of the House of Assembly who will not wear shoes with the governor's pictures, and then you'll be able to vote in governors who will consult with you, knowing fully well that without that consultation, they will not come back to those offices.
How do you close, please?
I think it was Barbara Feinstein, a senator in the United States Congress, that said that the ability of people to elect their representatives is at the root of democracy, and the root of liberty. And Dr. Tunji Braithwaite late said that when the people have not mastered the art of putting worthy people in government, they will end up with charlatans and criminals as leaders.
Okay.
And so the fact that the country is the way it is, run by the leadership, a leadership that has not shown so much responsibility, is clearly indicative of the fact that we as a people still have a long way to go in the political process to hold them accountable. That is the only thing that will bring some sanity in the conduct of government affairs.
And that's the tragedy of many people who have come a long way, only to realize at the turning point they still have a long way to go.
Yes.
All right, then we must leave it there, but not before thanking Achike Chude for coming. You have a brand new governor running a second term, so congratulations.
Well, well, we hope that the second term,
will be a lot better.
Better, yes.
And Liberal Socialman, many thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Okay, then, until we do something about it, until we do something visible about it, our governors would remain prodigal. On that note, I want to thank you for your time. We'll be here tomorrow morning. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye now.